Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Aquarius September 2022 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James. For those of you who are stopping by for the first time, and for the subscribers, well, you know how much I love to see you each month. Truly I do. I really love to see you. And your subscribers know that there are no advertisements which break into or cut into the video content of this reading, so you get to enjoy the experience in total. And speaking of experience, I've had the great pleasure of doing a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings for some Aquarians over the course of the last month from different parts of the world. And if you think you might be interested in seeing what's involved in a one-on-one clairvoyant experience with me, just check out the information that's in the description box below. The website's got a lot of great information on it, which I'm sure with your fine mind you will find interesting. Now, I have no idea what this deck is called, actually. My son and daughter were out in search of cocktails one Sunday afternoon, and they came upon a flea market. And at that market, they picked up this deck, which was tied up with string, but it had no box and it had no papers. Now, I have no idea what it's called. The good thing is that every card is present, and so it does work as a great tarot deck for divination purposes and for spiritual purposes. But if you happen to know what it is called, I think it's probably 30 or... I've never seen it around anywhere. If you do happen to know, it's probably 30 or 40 years old, maybe more. If you happen to know what it's called, just please do me the favor of leaving a comment in the video below. I'd be very grateful if you know what it is. But now let's draw 5 cards for you, shall we? Because that's all we need. And see here first, there is the Daughter of Wands in the East, Radha. Very much a Hindu influence to that card. And here we have Osiris, the Son of Swords in the South. So we go from India to Egypt. Going to have some fun, I think, during this reading. There is the Five of Wands, and that has a Chinese I Ching hexagram. Hex meaning 6, from the Greek 6, because there's 6 lines in it. And anyway, we'll get to that in just a second as to what that hexagram means for you this month. Let's see what else there might be here for you, shall we? These things don't come out. There's the Son of Cups in the North. A lot of people. So 3 people out of 4 for you. So it can't all be you. That's all I'll say. And let's see what this is. There is, well, that's lovely. Look, there's, interestingly, the Four of Wands, which also has a Chinese pictogram attached to it. So you've got the Four of Wands and the Five of Wands. Very, very interesting indeed. Well, as is our usual practice, why don't you come down here now, sit down here next to me. We'll have a good, close look at the imagery on these cards together while I do the reading for you. Now, I think you can see those. Let's have a look at this Four of Wands first. Oh, it's got a Chinese I Ching on it. Now, this is very abstract art, many of the paintings in this deck. But here is a picture, and what might we make of this picture here? Well, I'll tell you what I see. I see a hand offering a bubble, because here is the wrist, and it runs off into a thumb, and you can see through there, transparently through there. Here's the tips of the fingers. You can kind of see the fingers going through. And in the middle of this bubble, there is an eye. You see that eye running across that way? That looks like an eyebrow. There's the top lid, and there's the bottom lid, and the pupil, the eyeball, is there, and it's looking out this direction that's there. And the bubble indicates new possibilities, I think. Now, the spears pointing up and down are perfectly balanced energies. Now, what might we make of this I Ching that's there? Now, these are hexagrams. Hex meaning 6 lines in these cases, and they're read from the bottom all the way up to the top. Now, the unbroken line refers to yang, or the male principle.
The broken line refers to yin, or the female principle. So that would be yang, yin, yang. Yeah, you get the idea, it repeats. Now, you can either read them in couplets, that is 2 lines at a time, or in triplets, 3 lines at a time. But I like to do the 6 together, and then sometimes dig into whatever some of these other lines might mean to flesh things out. But looking at the 6 there together, there's a Chinese term for it, and it is qi. Qi, not to be confused with ching ching, which means girlfriend or mistress, but qi, which means roughly after completion. Yeah. Now, the message here is that while the situation appears to be stable and in order, you need to plan for inevitable changes that will continue to occur. When anything in nature achieves its highest expression or stability, it moves towards disorder and regeneration. Now, it may be that what you are thinking about or inquiring about has actually reached a state of finality or completion. As this hexagram it's another way of translating the qi is to say already across. So it's already happened, so it's finalized. Now, you may not want to hear it, but there may have been a completion or a closure that you missed. Now, the hidden influence of the energy here is that you have examined where you are, but make sure you plan for the future. You may think that the situation is never going to change, but it will. You may think that you can rest on your laurels and enjoy complacency, but you can't. It is important that you understand that in nature, everything is in a state of renewal. Now, while everything is in order, and you can feel a sense of success or arrival, you are urged here to remain cautious. Anything that reaches a climax will begin to move in the opposite direction. This is the way of the world. While the situation appears to be complete, a new goal or a new need for further growth and expansion opportunities will ensure that it doesn't become stagnant. This also refers to water over fire, and that means that you must tend to a particular situation, and you'll know what it is for you at the moment, so that the water doesn't burn out or evaporate. All things require care and attention to continue in a constant state of wellness. Now, the individual lines in this hexagram incidentally address the different stages that you'll encounter from going from completion to renewal. But the main point is that I think something has crystallized, and it may be time to set off in a new direction. Well, what's the next card? We may as well look at the one underneath it, because it actually follows it coincidentally in order of the suit. And here is, well, it's called conflict. Look, I don't pay a lot of attention to titles on cards. I think developers are stupid to do it because it depends on what's going on in the astrology and how they react with each other and what the elements of the cards are. But what's important here is this very, very strong line of fire that's going all the way through there for you. So there's going to be a great degree of energy for you during this month. And it's being aided by this air card, a court card of the Son of Swords in the south. Maybe some trouble. We'll get to that in a moment. But let's look at this, shall we? And see what you might make of it, in addition to what I see. Well, I see this stone column that is rising up here. You see, it's a stone column. It's sort of phallic-like, really. And at the top of the column, there's stuff here which resembles a human brain or a brain, and I think together they suggest the human body. Now the dark, chaotic column suggests a bloody history. But you'll notice the arrangement of the spears here. They're all straight, they're all pointing directly up to heaven, and they are in order and quite hierarchical. Now here is another I Ching hexagram. This one is called Ko. Now Ko roughly translates as molting. You know how an animal molts? And it can also mean revolution. The action that's being called on for you during this period is to transform. And, you know, a mind once stretched by a new idea never regains its original dimension. Now, this energy here, I think, describes a situation that has come to a point where a revolution in thinking or action has become necessary. At the same time, the image here of Ko is one of how animals and reptiles shed their skin in cycles, don't they? There may be nothing familiar left about the situation after it goes through revolution or through molting. Now, there may have been a past where there were repeated attempts to transform something. However, this energy here is suggesting that sustained effort alone is just going to be futile, because an actual complete top to bottom transformation is necessary. Now, there may also be here a fear that accompanies the change because the new path is unfamiliar. There is always some element of increased self-knowledge available when this energy is about. Molting or the changing of the skin or hide can show you that you maybe have conformed to a situation that did not tap who you really are. As you open to this transformation, you can make your debut, if you like, into authenticity. Whatever worked in the past will no longer do, and you must open yourself to deep and powerful change. Now, unhappiness is usually viewed as negative feeling, but it actually is. Unhappiness is the heart sending messages about the need to change. Therefore, even though while the previous type of joy evaporates, like rain, joy will return. And there can be an excited energy generated once you make the commitment to change. In life, we don't always know what we want until we discover what we don't want. So this is an energy here for you this month that is focused on truth, authenticity, and the discovery of real fulfillment. Three, two, one. Well, let's stay in the fire suit, which terminates here with the first card you drew, which is the daughter of what? The daughter of wands in the east. Now, Radha, well, that's naturally it's an Indian goddess. She's a Hindu goddess, and she's the chief consort of Krishna. Now, Krishna is God incarnate. So is Radha. She's also seen as being an avatar of the consort of Vishnu as well. That is Lakshmi. And this flute that she plays here with rainbow colours on it, that can be seen as suggesting a great degree of involvement in the world itself and pleasant interactions with other people. The flute also, and it's seen very often by in the company of the Lord Krishna, the flute itself, the music that it produces, are actually, in the history, the transmission of the mind of God via music to humans. And this degree deals with her holiness. And these three gems here, I would suggest, represent her sensuality, motherhood, and wisdom. There's a great degree of abundance around here, joy for you, good sense, and you'll be quite a cultured person, I think, that people are going to think. Now, it also is telling me that you are going to be swift and strong. You may be quite impulsive. You will nevertheless, I think, be just and quite noble and generous, and with a sense of humour, is what I'm seeing here. Leo, Virgo, and Cancer are going to be important to you. This is a person of omnivorous passion of whatever kind, and may well be entirely reckless in the means of obtaining gratification, and may in fact be quite insatiable, brilliant and daring, however, and expressive in love or in anger. You will find that you are freed from fear, and again new beginnings coming around, and increased perception. Your old fears have lost their power over you. Their dead remains cannot frighten you any longer. Reflect now on your greatest strengths. People are really going to enjoy your character and energy. Look, I've got to say this, and forgive me, but it's possible that you could be really quite vengeful during this period, or harbour feelings of revenge, and be temperamental and unruly. But very much this means the conquering of old fears and patterns of thought. You've brought them to the surface and conquered them, although it has to be said that you often learn lessons the hard way, don't you? What is the next step in your life? Find it fearlessly. Learn about ways of transforming fearful feelings, and say to yourself, as I accept my fear, it is transformed into love. Now, this other card that's up here, the Prince of Swords, is, as you would expect, also particularly applicable to you at this time. I think there could also be a Capricorn around. Now, this is a depiction of the ancient Egyptian god Osiris. Osiris is the god of the underworld, the god of the afterlife, and also the god of agriculture. He is depicted here with his usual greenish skin and mummified from the bottom half of his body. In fact, he's probably the first depiction of a mummy in Egyptian history. He has the implements here of kingship. He has this sort of headdress that he wears, which are ostrich feathers. You can tell they're ostrich feathers because they kind of turn over at the end. Sometimes that's displayed in white, but in here it's put together in these different colours. And these, I imagine, represent the eye of Horus, who was his son. He's a god of resurrection because his brother Set, who was jealous of him, murdered him and cut him up into pieces. And then Osiris's wife, Isis, wrapped him up and put him back together again, and he miraculously came together again. And so he therefore shows that there is life after death. And well, we're going further into Osiris, but we're not going to do Egyptian mythology. What we are going to do is to say that This is, in addition to very much on point for you. There may be a Capricorn. Did I mention that? That's around here for you. You will be intellectual and full of ideas and plans. Very clever. But maybe unstable in a way. And again, you might find that, just as this card was saying that you could be vengeful, this is saying that you could be temperamental. I think you need to, and domineering. You might be quite elusive. Be careful of not becoming too impressionable to other people. There's a lot of creative thinking here and cutting through all entanglements, becoming free of limited ideas and models and having a clear perception on things. You will be a master of creative ideas, thinking and planning, but a prerequisite for being able to think creatively is unrestricted freedom. The creative thought process cannot tolerate being limited in any way. Well, you know that is. I suppose that's why he... But the important thing is here is that you need to make sure that any direction that you go in is not accidental, that you're not just drawn accidentally into directions, but a direction that you head in is one that has come about as a result of a clear decision to go in a particular way. Now, as I say, you'll be good at creating ideas quickly, but the challenge will be for you to deal with the temptation to move on without developing them. And I think your intellect may be quite draining to those who are unable to keep up with you. You'll be independent, I think private. Some people might find you difficult to get to know, you know. They may even think that you lack emotional warmth and empathy, but you don't. This could indicate a need for you to slow down and analyze thoughts to see if something practical can be gained from them. Free yourself from whatever limits your mind and spirit, but be sure you express your ideas and plans in ways that other people will understand. Accept their opinions humbly. Your thinking could be ahead of its time, as I say, but you can adjust. What beliefs, feelings, relationships, or programmed ideas do you allow to limit you? And say to yourself, my creative possibilities have no limits, but they need to be grounded. And that takes us finally, I think, to this card, which is Parzival, or Parzival, as he used to be known at. Now, where does this character come from? Parzival was the name of the hero in a poem that was written in what is today Germany about 800 years ago. Now, this man, a young man, he took off in search of the Holy Grail. Here he's holding it almost in shock and astonishment. And along the way, of course, he found himself attracted to a comely and enticing young woman, and he therefore did what you do and courted her and looked to persuade her interest in his direction. Actually, the what was that composer in the 1800s, German guy, Wagner wrote an opera called Parzival, and the story, the poem, I won't go into the detail of it, but it goes on and on, even today. Now, Scorpio and Libra are what I am getting around here. Scorpio and Libra. He is esoterically air, and he's in the suit of water. Now, water and air strengthen each other, but they are neutral. So there's no elemental contradictions in his makeup. But with him, I get this feeling of Scorpio. Combined with the Scorpio energy that's coming into it, it can make him quite an intense character. As a fast river flows, so does he, trying to get the most out of life as possible. This talks about desires, wishes, craving, and the possibility of concentration, of transformation. He has the ability to detach. I'm getting that Libra sign there, that air sign that's there. It can be quite a detached sign. He has the ability to detach from the heavy, intense and controlling emotions of Scorpio. But he can come across as detached and cool, but I think that this is actually a front for insecurity and fear. The principal task of this person is to master dealing with emotional needs. Air in the context of water symbolizes strong passions, as does this astrological sign of Scorpio. Wishes and desires must be perceived and recognized. You know, they are fundamental driving forces in your life. Why not? But it's only possible to use and master them if you are wide awake and alert. Instead of suppressing them, you can use them in the process of becoming more aware. When seen this way, they are a vehicle that helps you journey into the world within. Now, somebody else that you might know, this is someone who has an immense ability, but somebody who can't actually be relied upon, you know. They can't actually be relied upon. They can be secretive, hiding their deepest desires. That could be someone who's interested in the arts or music. They can shed insight into other people's lives as they've usually done everything themselves. But at worst, they can be cruel, selfish, and reckless, I have to say. I think that in total, this is saying to me that you should accept your sexual needs and passions and live them out with awareness, because you'll discover a lot in this process. Give yourself totally to the experience and observe yourself in it. What secret wishes are you unwilling to admit to? Spend some time each day visualizing yourself with your desires and without getting lost in them. And say this to yourself: I now live out my sexual desires. This makes me more vital and fulfilled. Well, what a particularly interesting set of cards for you. Well done, you. That's the way it is for this month.
I have to tell you that I thought that was a really interesting reading for you then. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did providing it to you. This is going to be a good month for you. I can see it here, and that's what it says for you now, so enjoy yourself. And of course, I'll then see you next month. And remember this though, until the next time I see you, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.